Hi y'all, so today we're going to be doing something extremely different. I'm going to teach you guys how to turn your fanfics into a podfic for the extremely low price of completely free. With the fiasco that was lore.fm, a lot of people have talked about wanting audiobook versions of their favorite fics for accessibility reasons or just for funsies. I don't talk about it a lot on this channel, but I do voice acting as a hobby. I started in 2013 or 14, and in that time I've helmed a lot of projects and I actually got my start in a subcategory of podfics. So because I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of people are now looking into making podfics, I'm going to tell you everything I know and give you some free resources on how to do this. So let's go through the steps of making a podfic together. For this video, I'm going to be using an old podfic I had been planning to do but abandoned as my example work. Step 1. Writing the fic and formatting. The very first thing you're going to want to do is either write your fic and or format it into a script. I know this seems like a silly step to include, but I've seen dozens of projects die because the scripts were not done before they started doing visuals or casting. I've been on writing teams where the project died because the head writer got tired and went MIA on everyone, and scripts were never done because they didn't even have a full series outline for us, so we were all left floundering. I've been in casts waiting on writers to finish scripts and those scripts just never came. Before you proceed any further, you need to make sure your fic is fully completed. Now, from what I've seen, podfics can either be just audiobooks but fanfiction, or more like an audio drama, which is what I have the most experience in. If you want to reformat your fic into a script format, you'll want to do that before proceeding to the next step. You don't have to, you can just send your fic to voice actors with minimal changes, but the most important thing is getting the fic or script done first. For my example project, I already have it in script format, so I'm going to call it good. Step 2. Decide on posting platform / visuals if needed. The next step is to decide where you want to post your podfic. There's a lot of different platforms out there like YouTube, SoundCloud, Tumblr, etc. You need embed links, or links in general at least, to post onto AO3 as of now. You can't just upload a sound file, so you need to pick a platform to post the finished product on, and then embed it on AO3, or link it, but we'll get to that later. If you're posting to Tumblr or SoundCloud, all you need to do is audio editing, so you don't need to worry about visuals. But if you're posting to YouTube, you're gonna have to do some video editing in addition to audio editing. If you decide to go the video route, you need to decide on what kind of visuals you want. You could just have a black screen the entire time, that makes no sense to me. Or you could have it look like a visual novel with sprites and text boxes and backgrounds. It all depends on you and your preference. If you're artsy, you can make your own visuals. If you're not and you want visuals, you can ask around on Tumblr or Twitter or wherever and see if people would be willing to do art for you. Do not use AI art. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes. It's plagiarism, it's theft, it's unethical, and it's also really, really bad for the environment. A black screen is better than AI art. You could draw the ugliest thing in MS Paint and it would still be leagues better than AI art. Back when I was really active in doing audio plays, generally if someone was helming a project and not artsy like myself, you would make a post asking for people to join an art team. Generally, a few people would do sprites, some would do backgrounds, etc, etc. This was the norm in my community, but having visuals is not the norm nowadays. It's purely a cosmetic thing. So although it looks cool, don't feel pressured to need visuals for your podfic, especially since most people aren't even going to be looking at the screen anyways. It's a fun little detail and it's an option, but it's in no way necessary. Because I can't draw to save my life, my art's so terrible. And I don't want to ask people to do art for the project, I'm going to opt for minimal visuals. Which really I think is the way to go with this, but honestly, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. Step 3A. Prep for voice actors. Now that you've decided on what website to post on and what format you're going to do, it's time to prepare for bringing voice actors on. Now, if you want, you could opt for no voice actors and you just reading your fic out loud, which is totally fine. I'll be going over that in Step 3B, so go ahead and skip to that part. Timestamps are in the description. But if you want voice actors, you'll need to get some things ready before you post that casting call. The first thing you'll want to do is make a few documents explaining the world of your fic and the source material and the characters' backgrounds. Not everyone who auditions will be familiar with the source material, so you need to make sure they're all caught up to speed so they can act to the best of their abilities. If there are words that need clarification on how they're said, write a pronunciation guide. I would also, just a little side note, I didn't script this part. I would also suggest putting a pronunciation guide in the script or the fic itself. Sometimes your voice actors will be lazy and not, I say this with love. Sometimes the voice actors will not look at resources you have for them unless they're in the scripts themselves, so you may want to consider doing that, just as a heads up. But anyways, back to my script. Make a list of every character with dialogue. If your fic isn't in script format, color code characters lines. So again, going back to my theoretical project, if it wasn't in script format, every time Yukika has dialogue, I would highlight those pieces in purple so the voice actor could find their lines easier. I would also really suggest making a spreadsheet to keep track of who's turned lines in or who needs an extension, etc, etc. It'll help you stay more organized. This is an example of the spreadsheet I use whenever I do any projects. I just make copies of this. I have things separated into chapters, I have a space for the recording deadline, and a space to say whether or not someone's turned their lines in or not. This is low-key a fancy way to do it. You don't need a drop-down menu or anything, but I like making spreadsheets, so that's why this one is extra. But you want to have some way of keeping track of deadlines and who's turned stuff in. Step 3B, prepare for recording. If you want to narrate your own podfic, there's a few things you'll need. You'll need a recording space, a microphone of some kind, and a computer to edit it with. You probably could edit on a phone or tablet, but I really don't recommend that. It's going to make things way harder for you. For recording spaces, you'll need somewhere that has no echo. My suggestions are recording in your closet, since the clothes will help dampen outside noise and it's not echoey in closets usually. You could also throw a heavy blanket over yourself and record under there, but that gets hot pretty fast and to be honest, it's a little uncomfortable. You can make yourself a pillow fort, that will also work. The bottom line is that you need to be in a smallish space that has fabric to block out outside noise and prevent any echoes. When I record, I have a PVC pipe frame I made that goes over my desk and I put a blanket on top of that. I used to have a dedicated recording space at my grandma's, which was my closet with my Barbie vanity that I got when I was 4 years old in there as a desk. But unfortunately, my closet at home is too small for me, so I have to use the PVC pipe frame method. When it comes to mics, you don't need anything too fancy. You can just use your phone microphone. If you want to treat yourself and buy a microphone, I know it's a basic bitch answer, but my big upgrade mic from using my phone was a Blue Snowball. I currently use the Blue Yeti X, which is more expensive. I like both of these mics, but I feel like they can be a little temperamental sometimes and not want to function properly. Usually it sorts itself out, but it can be annoying, especially if you're working on a deadline. Which you probably won't be, but I just want to give the heads up of these mics can be a little temperamental. I would heavily advise against using your built-in laptop microphone. The quality is already not great, but it'll catch fan noises from your laptop and you have to position your laptop weird so things don't sound muffled. You most likely have a phone, that's really your best option for free. No matter what mic you have, whether it's a streamer mic that's super duper fancy or your phone, you need a pop filter. Man, I had to take my pop filter off to better illustrate this. So when we say certain hard consonants like P or B, sometimes we get a puff of air that hits the mic and ruins the entire take. So instead of produce, we have produce. You know, I'm not monitoring this. I don't know if it actually, I don't know if it actually did the thing. Okay, hold on. Let me do this really exaggerated. Okay. Produce. Okay, anyway, hopefully that got a, puff of air, so hopefully you could have heard that. Okay, I'm putting my pop filter back on. A pop filter helps eliminate that air puff, or at least makes it less pronounced. You can buy one, but they're super easy to DIY. Take an old pair of tights and either put it across an embroidery hoop, or if you're using your phone, cut out a bit of the tights and rubber band it to your phone, over the mic. It does look a little silly, but hey, it's free, theoretically, you know? If you decide to keep making podfics, you can low-key train yourself to not make that puh or buh noise where it produces air, but it takes a while. I think I only mastered it a year or two after I started voice acting. It takes a while, so honestly, just get the pop filter. You'll also need recording software, which I talk about in step 5, so go ahead and skip to that. Step 4, make the casting call. Once you prep for voice actors, it's time to actually find them. You can make casting calls on Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, etc. Most people I know use castingcall.club now. When you make a casting call, you're going to want to include the following information. A synopsis of the story, explaining what the project is, emphasizing this is an unpaid project, and of course, well, I guess unless you want to pay your voice actors. And of course, character bios and lines. This is an example casting call I've drafted up. As a title, I have On the Other Side of the Mirror, Twisted Wonderland Podfic. Next, you'll want a project synopsis. Mine reads, the prestigious all-girls school Night Riven College is in mourning after the suicide of isekai freshman Yukika. But when Yukika leaves farewell letters to their friends that hint at something nefarious going on, their best friends Ash and Delaney vow to solve the mystery behind Yukika's death. But in doing so, they uncover secrets that could either save their world or destroy it. You would then want to go on to explain what the project is. For my explanation, I have On the other side of the mirror is an AU podfic for Twisted Wonderland that twists and plays with the concept of gender and what it means to be human. The finished project will consist of 10 chapters/episodes and a supercut for people who want the whole thing together. The finished project will be posted onto YouTube and also my AO3 account. Next, you'll go into requirements. This is where you'll talk about what mics are okay and not okay, some project rules about conduct, telling people about your expectations, etc. This is what I wrote for mine. Requirements/warnings. Phone and USB mics okay, no built-in laptop microphones please. Voice actors are expected to do noise removal and any other editing themselves. Actors must be comfortable with swearing, yelling, crying, and screaming. Trigger warnings for this project are suicide, self-harm, transphobia, murder. This is a queer-friendly project. Any homophobic or transphobic actions will result in immediate removal from the group and blacklisting from any future projects. This is a zero-tolerance policy. I also will say now when you have people audition, I usually do, like, background checks, quote-unquote. Like, I'll go through their social media and see, like, okay, are they being transphobic on Twitter or something? So yeah, that will also help. It takes a little more time with casting, but honestly, I would recommend doing it. But anyways, back to the whole thing. You can write more or less if you want, but this is just to give you guys an idea of what to ask for. Next, we move on to characters. You'll need to give the character's name, a short bio, what kind of voice you're looking for, and some lines. You should try to give the actors 3 to 5 lines to try and, like, see their range. I usually just pull stuff from the scripts I've already written, so I don't have to write anything new. Again, here's an example of what it should say and how it should look. Delaney Spade. Appearance. Short dark blue hair tied back into a small ponytail, teal eyes, fairly tall. Bio. A freshman at NRC and one of Yukika's best friends. She's a kind girl who wants to do her best to make her family proud. Delaney isn't the smartest and she can be awkward, but she has a heart of gold. But if you provoke her, she will get scary really fast. She's in love with Yukika but too shy to admit her feelings. Voice. Medium to low. Also, I'll just interject here. If you want to say, like, oh, I'm kind of looking for, like, something similar to this person's voice, you could also say that in this. I generally don't like voice matching for projects, so I just say, like, if you're in this range, go for it, honestly. Honestly, if you're not even in this range, you could go for it either. I really wouldn't care. I really wouldn't care. Okay, and then you're gonna have the lines. I'm not even gonna, like, try acting these. I'm not gonna try acting these. I'm so tired. So lines. 1. Gently. Is everything okay, Yukika? 2. I still don't know if those ghost things need to be banished, though. They haven't hurt anyone, they're just scary. 3. Frantic, just having read her friend's suicide note. I was reading Yukika's letter, and I think someone pushed them to do it. Again, go girl, we love your lack of energy, give us nothing. I'm not in an area where I can, fully voice act that right now, so oof. But anyways, once you've done this for every character, or just a narrator or whatever, I don't know, it depends on what you want to look for. It's time to make that casting call live. I usually have auditions open for a month or 2, usually 2, to give people time to prepare their auditions and submit them. Sometimes auditions might come in slowly and you may have to go over that, but that's okay. Step 5. Communications and recording. After auditions have concluded and you've picked your cast, it's time to set up some form of communication with them. Most people set up Discord servers for projects. Here you can give people scripts, have them submit lines, have any pronunciation guides you'll need. If you're using CCC, you can just have communication and line submission through that. You can also give people your email address so they can send stuff. Really, it just depends on comfort level. I think Discord servers are the way to go, but that's just me. Once everyone's gathered, it's time to give out assignments. Generally, I would say if you're doing like a 2-week deadline, a 30-page script would be the most I would assign. Oh, given, very important, that you have multiple voice actors. If you only have one person or like 2 or 3 people narrating this, give them more time. Give them more time. This is assuming that you have at least a decently sized cast, so it's not just one person reading a whole bunch, you know what I mean? You could also have people record like 1 script or 1 chapter a month, but it just depends on length, really. There's no hard or fast rule for this, to be honest. You can always ask the cast of how much time they need if you're unsure. Having communication with your cast is extremely important, trust me. As a little tip, I would suggest making a folder on your computer for the project, and then subfolders for each script or chapter. That way, everyone's lines are organized. I would also review lines as soon as you get them, so if any re-recording needs to happen, it can happen sooner rather than later. When someone turns in lines and they're perfect, make sure to make a note, whether it's on a notepad or in your spreadsheet or whatever, and don't forget to download them and move them into the right folder. Also decide if you want people's lines in one file or separated. Both have their pros and cons. If all the lines for one voice actor are separated, it's a bit easier to just drag them into Audacity when you're editing, but there's more files to keep track of. If they're all in one file, you have to split things yourself. It's really just a preference thing. I personally prefer all in one file, but that's just my preference, like I said. It's not inherently better, it's just better for me. I'd recommend telling your actors to name their files a certain way, like, Delaney _ episode 1 if you're doing all one file, or Delaney _ episode 1 _ whatever the line number is, depending which way you want to do. If you decide to go for the every line is its own file sort of way. This way things are a bit easier to find and like a little more organized. Staying organized, I haven't explicitly said it, but honestly staying organized is going to be like a very big thing for you and it'll really help in the long run, trust me. The moment things get a little unorganized, it can get bad. It can get bad. Step 6. Audio editing. Now that we have everyone's lines, it's time to edit. Audacity is a free audio editing and recording software and what I've been using since I first started. I'm just going to warn you guys now, I'm not an audio engineer. I'm not going to be super technical with this and I'm not going to go over how Audacity works. I'm just going to explain what things do. When I edit things, I generally have each character have their own audio track. I do this for organization, but also so if I need to raise the gain or normalize the lines, I can do the whole track at once and I don't have to like... If I had it all in one track and I just put everyone's lines there, it's like I would have to like highlight everyone's audio differently and do different things. Just have everything be their own track. That's really the best advice I can give you there. The most important things in my opinion are making sure everyone's lines are the same volume. Everyone records differently, so sometimes someone's lines will be super loud and someone else's will be quiet. See this meter? So I've been told to keep things between -6 and 0. If something's louder than this, make it quieter. If something's quieter, make it louder. When you play the audio back, this meter will be moving around and stuff, and that's how you kind of gauge things. The gain meter on tracks will raise or lower volume, but sometimes you may have someone's lines where there's like a phrase or a syllable maybe that aren't the same volume as everything else. So maybe like someone's lines are quiet but a few parts are loud. You can semi-fix it with normalize, or what I prefer to do is use amplify. Yes, even on loud things. Amplify will make things louder, you know, as the name suggests, but if you move the little, like, arrow around, it can't actually lower volume for the most part, so really you just kind of have to, like, play around with audio. Another important thing, like I mentioned earlier, is having a natural space between people's lines, so there shouldn't be too long or too short of a pause between lines. As you audio edit more, you'll be able to eyeball it pretty well, but a little cheat I do sometimes is, like, I'll select the space between one line and the other, make a label track, and type something, it doesn't matter what, and now I have a ruler basically. I can move this around and use this to cut down long pauses between characters speaking. This won't work for everything. If a character's getting cut off, the pause needs to be extremely short, but for most things it's fine. I don't really have a set time between dialogue to recommend. As I said, the more you do this, the better you'll get at eyeballing the distance between lines and stuff. So, it's just a skill that you kind of have to learn. If you add background music or sound effects, these need to be quieter than the dialogue. Again, I don't have a rule for this, just make it quieter to your tastes and what sounds best to you. I get my sound effects from freesound.org, they're amazing and free. You'll need to give attribution sometimes, but you can just tack those onto a credit sequence or put a list in your description, so it's not a big deal. Once you're done editing, you can export the project. It'll combine everything into a single audio file. I generally do things in stereo and have either an MP3 or a WAV format. If you want an MP3, you'll have to get a plugin for Audacity for that. It's not a native feature. You can find that by Googling around. I don't remember which one I use since it's been forever since I've set it up, but it was free. Step 7, video editing. If you've decided to do video format, it's time to edit that. As a free program, Lightworks is incredible. I've been using it since 2014 and I love this program. The learning curve is not as steep as it used to be, but I'll still walk you through everything. Also, I've heard DaVinci Resolve is really good, but personally I've never used that, so I can't really say on like how good it is. Lightworks is really like the free program that I'm used to. To use Lightworks, you will need to make an account with them. It's free though. Once you make your account and you've logged in and everything is downloaded, create a new project. Go to edit and drag your audio into it. It'll have a pop-up of frame rate, just hit OK. If you're using images, go ahead and drag those in too. I would suggest doing one by one because sometimes if you do multiple at once, Lightworks like creates a sequence so they all play at once when you drag them into the timeline, and it's not individual photos. I know there's a way around it, but I don't remember what it is. And honestly, I don't think you guys will have that many pictures, so it's just better to do it one by one. Drag your audio file into the timeline and then drag in any photos. My graphic isn't as long as my audio, so I can either drag the picture in again, or I can lengthen what I already have on the timeline. To do that, hover over the end of the file. There will be these two white bracket things. Click those. It'll turn yellow, and then you can drag the file to be longer. Once you're done, hit the close button underneath the preview window, and it'll be done. When you're done editing, right-click the space next to the zoom buttons. Go down to export, and there will only be one option. That's fine for us. Under format, the only thing you'll want to make sure is ignore leading/trailing black. So if there's any space after your audio or video ends, it won't be rendered. Under destination, name your project and choose a folder to save it to. Press start and it'll render. When it's done, it'll let you know. Step 8. Posting. Now that you're done, it's time to post it. If you went the audio only route, you can upload it to SoundCloud or you can upload to Tumblr. I'm sure there's other sites, but those are the only ones I can think of that allow audio only. If you have a video, you can just upload it to YouTube or Tumblr. I'm not sure about SoundCloud because I don't use it, but for YouTube and Tumblr, Tumblr's the only one that will let people lock their phones and still listen to things, at least audio-wise. But YouTube won't unless you pay them, so just putting that out there. Regardless of where you decide to post it, it's time to embed it or link it onto AO3. Go to your account and start a new work. Make sure to tag it as Podfic so people can easily tell what it is. If this is just a Podfic version of something you've already posted, I would recommend at least linking to the original, and on the original, linking to the Podfic, so people can read along if they want to, or if people who found the original first, they know that there's a Podfic version. When it comes to embedding, this is the code that AO3 recommends using. If that's not working, then I would just post a link to the project since link coding generally works all the time, and while looking around, I feel like I've seen a lot of people have issues with SoundCloud embedding, and honestly, embedding in general, so a link might be a better idea. And that's how to make your own Podfic for free. Again, I know this isn't my usual content, but the lore.fm thing made me realize that there's a really big need for people, and since I have the knowledge, why not share it? I hope this video helped you guys in some way, whether to inspire you to make your own Podfics, or if you're in the middle of doing one and feeling overwhelmed, help guide you a little bit. I think Podfics are something we as fanfiction writers should start considering more, although I will admit sometimes it's embarrassing to hear what you wrote being said back to you. But I think that it's a great accessibility tool, and while some fanfics will definitely lend themselves better to the Podfic treatment than others, I basically exclusively write reader inserts, and I have no idea where to even begin adapting to those Podfics for the obvious reasons. I think we should be moving to make more Podfics and trying to make things as accessible as possible. So yeah, I hope this helps, guys. Really hope this helps, and if you're still feeling overwhelmed, give me $20 and I'll do everything for you. Nah, I'm just kidding. But for reals though, I hope this helps. Thank you everyone for watching, and a very special thank you to my channel members and Twitch subs. Your support helps me to continue to make these videos. If you'd like early access to my videos, consider becoming a channel member. Patrons and Ko-fi members can get my scripts early before I record them. I livestream over on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thanks again guys, and I'll see y'all later.